Good morning and welcome the Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church, easy for me to say. My name is Donna McCartney and I'm honored to be your worship associate today. So I'm joined by members of the Orange Coast Choir, hello. So I'm joined by the members of the Orange Coast Choir led by Susan Shaw and featuring Sarah Kimball on the flute today. Karen Magoo Pearson, who is our Director of Religious Education for Children and Youth. She's here as well. There she is. And we welcome all of you this morning. Our minister, Reverend Sean Wilshire, is not leading the service today, but she has a special message for you.
Hello, Roomers and Zoomers. So I'm away this week, but my spirit is with you. For those of you who are new to the church, maybe you're just checking us out or curious about Unitarian Universalism, welcome. Glad you're here. You are in for a treat. This is a wonderful, friendly, fabulous, just all-around spectacular community. I hope you can get to know them because it can be kind of tough to get to know a new community. But here's the thing, just hang in there, join in one of the activities, and before long, you'll get to know people, and then this becomes your church. Well, today we've planned a wonderful service for you, just blending music and word to bring together a helpful and hope-filled message. We hope it will feed your soul. So without further ado, let's go.
So the title of our sermon this morning is Life, the Universe, and Everything. A feature of UUism is our willingness to admit that we don't have the answers. Today, we explore our third and fourth principles and how they help us shape not only our faith, but how we move through the world. We're delighted to have Pandell with us, who's our guest minister today, and she will be filling in this summer a number of times while Reverend Sean is on sabbatical. So Casey is serving as an intern minister at Tapestry UU and a contract minister at UUC Anaheim. And she'll begin full-time ministry with Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Santee, California in the fall. So thank you for being with us today and other days in our near future. So we would also like to recognize the many volunteers that have helped to put this service together today. And you'll see their names up there. And of course, there's way more than that, but these are the ones that we had direct contact with this one service today, and there's a lot of people behind the scenes helping out. Thank all of you as well. We respectfully recognize that our church property rests on Ahashimen and Tongva land. As Unitarian Universalists, we have many different beliefs, but we are one loving community. We're bound together not by a common set of rules or beliefs, but rather a covenant. A covenant is simply a promise that whatever our beliefs, we accept one another and encourage each other in spiritual growth. We affirm that all life has inherent value and that all existence is interconnected. We strive for justice and compassion in our deeds and relationships, and we are committed to creating a welcoming community. Sounds like someone out there needs a little bit of nurturing this morning. We'll send warm thoughts your way. To our roomers, we invite you to silence your cell phones. And for our Zoomers, good morning Zoomers, we invite you to say hello in the chat. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors. If you're seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you'll find it here. Later in this service, we will have an opportunity for you to introduce yourself if you'd like to do so. We begin our worship with the lighting of our chalice. This morning, I want to invite Maureen McGonaghy up here to light our chalice. And she's a very familiar face to all of us because she joined the OCUUC 21 years ago. And Maureen leads two groups on Zoom, the Nonfiction Book Club and the Science Fiction and Philosophy Book Club, whose next book is Robert Heinlein's Stranger in a Strange Land. So she encourages you to join up.
Can you say McConaughey?
Did I say it wrong? She had me practice before the sermon. I still mess it up.
McConaughey.
McConaughey with the G. Sorry about that. All right. So you are an asset to our community, Maureen. Thanks for coming and lighting our chalice. And let us say our chalice affirmation together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. This we affirm together. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening song.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is wonderful to be here worshiping with you all again this week. My name is Casey Marie Pandell. I am your sabbatical preacher for this summer. If this is your first visit or your 5,000th visit, you are whole, you are holy, you are loved, and you are so welcome here. Our call to worship this morning are words by Jennifer Jo Von Roo and Lynette Lowe entitled Being Sanctuary. Welcome to this space, this sanctuary of peace where we come not only to create our best selves, but to also do the work of creating a beloved community. We come together today as individuals, much like individual pieces of glass or pottery that are different shapes, sizes, and colors, all of which are broken with imperfect, jagged edges, but always beautiful. While our pieces may not always fit together neatly, it is within this sanctuary, guided by our principles, that we gather together to create a beautiful mosaic. May the brokenness and beauty you find in one another create peace in this space and fill our hearts with love as we worship together. Welcome to worship.
That was beautiful, Sarah. Thank you. So Karen Magoon Pearson, Director of Religious Education for Children and Youth, will present the Time for All Ages.
Thank you, Dominic. All right. So I have a question. Who here has ever had to go through their clothes before? Yeah. See a lot of hands. To clean out your closet or your drawers. And maybe you felt like it was just time, or maybe it's something your parents asked you to do. So I'm wondering, how did you decide what to keep and what to get rid of? Anybody want to share? Yeah, Elizabeth. How well it fit. Absolutely.
How recently I wore it.
Yeah. How recently you wore it, for sure. Oh, whether or not it has memories. If it has holes. I heard Leanna say whether or not you like it, right? How is it that you end up with clothes you don't like? I do that all the time. Like, why did I buy this? I don't like it. Anybody else have thoughts on how you decide?
Does it make me feel good?
Oh, does it make you feel good? That's for sure. All right, so things like, does it fit? Is it worn out and ratty? Maybe you never even wore it anyways, even though you had it in there all that time. So when you're all done cleaning out the closet, I'm kind of wondering what was left when you were done. Were there older things, newer things, both? What do you find? Space. Space. That's a nice change. What'd you say, Elizabeth? Space for more things you're never going to wear, right? You can fill it back up. Empty hangers. Yeah. I know in our family with 4 kids, we often just give up and buy more hangers because we just don't have the time to go through it. So, all right. So some old, some new, probably both, right? So switching gears a little bit, does anybody remember how long ago this church started?
60 years.
So it was just about 70 years when this particular church first started. And so I want to think about what those people had in their closets. And some of you were probably around back then, maybe not wearing adult clothes. And were their clothes similar to ours? Different? Right? So some things were probably the same, probably still had like some mittens for going to the snow in the winter, but some things were definitely different, right? So back then, our church met in American Legion Hall, which they shared with a Lutheran congregation, kind of similar to how we share our church campus with a bunch of different congregations today, too. And those early Universalists in Orange County still attended church on Sundays. They heard sermons, they prayed prayers and read readings. They sang hymns and taught children what they felt was important. And the things they believed, their religious ideas, they're kind of like the clothes in our closets, right? So like with our clothes, we need to look at our beliefs every so often and ask ourselves, does this still fit? Perhaps they're too worn out to wear in public anymore. Or maybe there's something you borrowed from somebody else that you never really used anyways, didn't turn out to be that helpful. And we want our beliefs to reflect who we really are on the inside. And so we keep the ones that still fit, that still work, and still have meaning for us when we wear them. But we make new space and empty hangers for new things that might come along, right? Because just like our clothes, we want our beliefs to change a little bit with us as we grow and change so that they're always remaining true to who we are. And that's part of being a Unitarian Universalist. All right, so I'm going to light our children's chalice, and then we're going to sing our children and their teachers out to our religious education classes.
We hold you in our love. spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
Our reading today comes from Mark Ward, entitled Grounded Someplace Deeper. Reason is an important tool, sure, an essential arbiter of truth claims about the world. But religion is grounded in someplace deeper, where we experience the joy of living and are connected intimately with all that is. Religion is an entirely human experience, but one that we get in touch with using some pathway other than intellectual argument. In religion, we seek to address not just that what is, but also that we hope for and what we dedicate ourselves to. We rely on it to navigate the shoals of love and grief, compassion and estrangement, gratitude and disappointment, mystery and wonder. As David Bumbaugh suggests, religion deserves reverence. It requires a vocabulary and a theology. This theology demands no intervention of unearthly forces, but invites us to open ourselves to different ways of living and learning. It considers the human a niche in the vast intertwined plenitude of being. And just what is our niche? We are fragile, fallible sorts for whom just being is a blessing and love is a pole star. Please join me in a time of silent prayer, meditation, or reflection.
Let this be a house of peace, of nature and humanity, of sorrow and elation. Let this be our house, a haven for the healing, an open room for question and our inspiration. Let this be a house of peace.
Let this be our house of peace.
Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of freedom, guardian of dignity and worth held deep inside us. Let this be our house, a haven for the free voice, where all our sacred differences here shall not divide us. Let this be a house of peace.
Let this be our house of peace.
Let this be a house of peace. Let all in this house seek truth, where scientists and mystics abide in reverence here. Let this be our house, a house of our Creator, creation, where works of art and melodies saturate the atmosphere. Let this be a house of peace.
Let this be your house of peace.
Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of prophecy. May vision for our children be our common theme. Let this be our house of myth and lore and legend, our trove of ancient story and cradle of our tender dreams. Let this be a house of dreams.
Let this be your house of peace.
Let this be a house of peace.
Let this be your house of peace.
Let this be a house of peace.
Let this be your house of peace.
Let this be a house of peace.
Let this be your house of peace.
The first thing that I did when I returned home from Chicago after graduating seminary in May was lay flat on my back and stare at the ceiling. I had just completed something that at many points over the preceding 3 years had felt like an absolute impossibility, and yet here I was on the other side of it. For weeks afterwards, I would wake up in the morning and think to myself, okay, what have we got to do today? And it was relieving and a little harrowing when my internal response was nothing. Absolutely nothing has to be done today. 3 years of constant learning, places to be, people to speak with, classes, meetings, group discussions to attend, and books, my God, so many books. Well over 150 books are required just for an impending minister to see the Ministerial Fellowship Committee. That does not include recommended readings. I counted. I went and checked. That does not include recommended readings or the additional assigned readings for class. In fact, I hadn't read more than 1 or 2 books just for fun the entire time I was in grad school. Yeah, you know what it's like. I'm watching her shake her head. It took me a little bit of time to get back into the swing of reading just because I craved to, not because it was compulsory. And in the weeks since, I noticed that I have gravitated towards stories that introduce me to rich characters, characters you come to love, characters you come to grieve the loss of at the end of the story. This week alone, I've read Michael Shara's The Killer Angels, his powerful historical fiction account of the Battle of Gettysburg, from the perspectives of both Union and Confederate men, all based on accounts of their lives and, in some cases, their deaths. I also finally received my library copy of Harry, Duke of Sussex's Spare, which people have read for purposes of interest and rage since it went out this year. But it is an international bestseller that reportedly goes towards charity, so by all means, go buy a copy. These 2 books have something rather in common, unexpectedly so, in my view. What I found was that perspective is everything. In Angels, we have Confederate Generals Lee and Longstreet at odds. Lee determines divine intervention, feeling that God has determined there is to be a battle here. Longstreet, instead, seeing with crystal clarity that the Confederacy is doomed to a massacre at the hands of the Army of the Potomac. We have the brothers Chamberlain, Lawrence, a Union professor cum colonel, and his kid brother Thomas, ruminating on what rights the South think they're fighting for, if not the right to be slave owners. We have British war tourist Fremantle proposing the same thought to Confederate General Armistead, who takes offense at the thought. There are whispers of men lacking honor, deserters, layabouts, cowards, all of it often subjective. There are moments of bone-chilling doubt and jubilant exaltation, all in the same moment. The Confederates lament that the Union boys had once been their friends, their soldiers, their family, and now they were their enemy in the fight for truth and justice. Spare has been somewhat troublesome because it isn't a fictional retelling of his life. We are not privy to the exact moments of his history, and so we must take his word as truth. Indeed, the Duke asserts, "My memory is my memory. There is just as much truth in what I remember and how I remember it as there are in so-called objective facts." There's a rational part of our brains that hears that and bristles, lips pursing grimly as one thinks, "Facts are facts, darling boy." But I think Harry is making an important point there, albeit in a somewhat clumsy way. What feels very take it or leave it of an approach to his memoir and therefore his unique perspective of his own life, as you delve further into the book, what you find is much more about the subjectivity of personal perspective, how experience can and often does shape not only the way we remember things, but how we continue to experience the world at large. How remarkably Unitarian Universalist of him. One of the things that appears to make UUism attractive to us, particularly so, I think, for those who have come to the faith later in life, and is equally baffling for people who follow other religions with fervor, is that exact thinking. As we've been studying the second article of our Unitarian Universalist Association bylaws, and if you're a UU and you haven't been studying them, truly, deeply, from the bottom of my chilly little heart, you absolutely need to be studying them. One of the amendments that came up at General Assembly came from UU Minister John Gibb Millspaugh, who wished to see more of an emphasis on the following: direct experiences of transcending mystery and wonder are a primary source of inspiration. These experiences open our hearts, renew our spirits, and transform our lives. It may come as no surprise that we as a community voted to adopt this amendment in the continued discussion over the next year. And in some ways, this perspective is fairly unique to us as a faith community. It isn't to say that other faiths don't query and question, not at all, but it is a basic tenet of the way that we function as UUs that we actively encourage a faithful and spiritual exploration, and do so with an eye towards not only the truth, but meaning. That might be a little tricky. Whose truth do we mean? What do we mean when we say meaning? It's a millennia-long battle. Who's right? Who's wrong? What is the purpose? Battles have been waged, lives lost, relationships shattered over those exact questions. It's one of those human condition things. There are artworks and memoirs and sacred texts galore that have proposed to know the answer, and yet only sometimes do these various thoughts or perspectives come close to a consensus. For all of the uncertainties, we almost hold these questions with a reverence, knowing the answers are numerous and varied. I think we UUs relish the difference, the curiosity. While rationalism is baked into our Unitarian traditions, we still crave to explore, to examine, to come to know that which is yet unknown. What for us as a liberation-minded, love-focused, interfaith-adjacent faith does that actually look like? What does it feel like? When other faiths have exemplary models of life, love, and faith, the likes of the Prophet Muhammad, the Buddha, Moses, and Jesus, how do these models of understanding, of knowing and learning actually materialize in our lives when we have no set religious icon or text that we all hold in collective truth? I think that's why the search for truth and meaning is so appealing to us, because it is another facet of our naturally scientific or curiosity-minded ways. Particularly those of us who grew up in cultures of don't ask questions, that sort of thinking falls short. It's bland, it's uninspiring. However can we possibly learn, grow, and change if we don't ask questions? The best teacher in the world is experience. That's one of the points of liberation theology. Expert perspective and research are great tools, but they can be cold and distant. Real lived experience is the key to genuine understanding. It is as alive as you or I, and each person's experience of the same event or treatment is often colored by the constellation of privilege in which they sit, which is a concept we'll talk a little bit more about in a few weeks. There's something about the freedom to search deeply and holistically for the truth of things, the truth of ourselves, of our world, the mysteries of life. But we don't simply encourage it within our families and our congregations. It is an actual principle of our faith, something we find so meaningful to how we move through the world that we come to expect it of each other and certainly of our leadership. There's no one way to promote and encourage this search. The ways in which we can do so differ about as much as we all in this room do. For some folks, perhaps the best way to go about that search is self-exploration. Meditation, for example. Prayer walking, which is sort of like meditation in motion, but you invite along whatever your version of the highest good is. Sound bathing, which is meditation with music and sounds. Perhaps it's a space you create for yourself in the day of being alone with just your thoughts and feelings. It can be done through creation, through art or gardening. But for others, perhaps solitude doesn't give enough flavor. And for these people, things like our book discussion groups, our beloved chalice circles and circle suppers may be more their speed, where one can ask questions, share ideas and wonderings. Classes, group expeditions, spending time with children and elders, or both. There is so much living in so many different ways. The possibilities are nearly endless, and less important is the how we go on these journeys. More crucial is the why. As we face increases in political and social discord, which is putting it lightly, the question often asked is, how can people believe in XYZ way? Don't they know that's not okay? And I think this is one of those times that our principles ask us to lean into the journey. Within reason, there are many things in this world where truth is truth, no matter our personal feelings on it. We saw in shocking detail how many COVID deaths occurred because people decided that their truth was more truthy than the truth of science. And that's the tricky thing with truth, with perspective, with understanding. Our experiences, our beliefs, our fears, they all inform our present moments, and there is a tragedy when people let information and fear be their only guide. As Unitarian Universalists who believe wholeheartedly in the inherent worth and dignity of all people and creatures, something we too, sometimes we have to let people be wrong. Accept that their search may differ from ours and that we cannot control it. But what this does for us and how we interact with the world is that it helps us work to be the flame bearers of the future. We encourage individuality and following our own paths in every facet of our lives because it is how we show people they are worthy. Your path and mine may be vastly different, but they are both valid. They are both true and they are both not in equal measure. But we always do so from places of love, and we covenant to return together, to explore together, to disagree together. The title of this sermon comes from the wildly popular Douglas Adams novel, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The question posed in the book is, what is the answer to life, the universe, and everything? And the rather cheeky response is 42. People have spent decades poring over that book, trying to understand exactly what the heck 42 is supposed to mean, and the possibilities feel endless. For the author's part, he answered in an interview that the number itself was arbitrary. He thought to himself, it's got to be a number. Spotted the number 42 on his desk and thought, that's the one. There's no hidden meaning or ulterior motive. But someone pointed out to me that apparently 42 correlates to the asterisk in computer code, and their explanation for that was that the asterisk can mean just about anything. And what a great example of the importance of relishing our own journey and encouraging others to dig deep and make meaning for their own lives, the good parts of them and the bad. Our faith is a vibrant one that is currently in a state of great change. Change that is frightening sometimes, yes, but often exhilarating. We are in a time in Unitarian Universalism where our own truths are helping shape the future of our faith right now. And I hope, especially as we continue the conversation around Article 2 and what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist, that we always do so with an eye towards the loving kindness we all share. What we each need from this community comes from the knowledge that we have gained on this journey of life, and so too will we find solace in it when we cherish all searches and welcome each other in whatever way they are along the way. So may it be, and amen.
Please rise and body your spirit and join us in singing our returning song. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Congregations are fully self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise all the funds for the operating budget, ministries, and the programs of our church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUUC amplifies that spirit of generosity by sharing one half of the plate we receive with an organization that shares our values. This month, we're sharing the plate with Stand Up for Kids, Orange County. This is one of our favorite charities to support. Its purpose is to end the cycle of youth homelessness in our community by providing basic needs, housing, and mentoring support, care, and love for at-risk and homeless youth ages 12 to 24. Here at OCUUC, we are strong social justice advocates, and we're honored to be able to support the vulnerable youth in our community by sharing the plate with Stand Up for Kids. There are multiple ways for you to support the church and this organization. You can mail a check, you can go through our website, or you can use an app called Vanco Mobile. If you're a roomer, you can contribute while the plate's being passed, as it is right now. The choice is yours. All the information is on our website should you need it. And as always, thank you for your generosity. Applause for Sarah Kimball, who's our soloist flute player today, and she is so beautiful. So thank you, Sarah.
Join us in singing We Gather Together, a song that puts our intentions into words and expresses our gratitude for the many gifts that we share. We gather together, we gather as one, for peace, love, and justice for everyone. We give from our hearts to show that we care. We can change lives with what we share.
So now is the time that we honor the important events in our lives. You're invited, one and all, whether you are a member, a friend, or a visitor, to participate in our weekly ritual of joys and sorrows. So let's take a deep breath. Perhaps you come here today holding something close to your heart, moments from the last days or the last hours that have struck you at your core. If so, and you'd like to honor such a profound joy or sorrow, you're invited to do so. If you're a roamer, you like these folks over here, and raise your hand, and we will bring you something you can write down, and I'll announce it here what your joy or sorrow is. So, but right now, if you're a roomer, you're invited to come forward to light your candle with Bertie Reed, our pastoral care associate. If you would like to share your joy or sorrow, you can write it on the slip of paper that we just talked about, and you can hand it to me, and then I will read those aloud afterwards. Anyone else want one? Okay. So if you're a Zoomer, then you're invited to write your joy or sorrow into the chat, and I will use my handy iPhone to read those aloud as well. And we will light, and Bertie will light a candle for you for your joy or sorrow. As the music is played, I invite you to silently offer healing or celebration as you feel called and according to your own beliefs. So these are the joys and sorrows from the folks on Zoom. From Peggy P., thank you. She said she has joy. Richard and I celebrated our 40th anniversary this week, so congratulations to Peggy P. From Mifani K., she says she's sharing something from John K. Thank you for the card wishing me well in tomorrow's surgery. I hope to be back with you in person in a few weeks. Okay, thank you. And I think that's all from Zoom. Now, our in-house joys and sorrows. Karen Magoon Pearson has a joy. She says that Jaden Magoon Pearson and Maribel Hauser, who will be traveling to Camp de Benneville today for elementary camp. She says, send them off with your well wishes. She also shares that she has a sorrow for Tatiana Hauser's sister, Anastasia Natzik, who died suddenly on Friday in a drowning accident. She was 24 years old and lived in Omsky, Russia. Tatiana especially asked for thoughts and prayers for Anastasia's mother, Elana, during this difficult time. Wow, so let's reach out to her. It's really rough. Leanne S. is sending out a wish, lit a candle of hope. Oya, one of our Ukrainian friends, is currently in Mexico trying to straighten out the visa situation for her and her son, and we hope things go as they should. Denny M. says she's lit a candle of healing for my friend Terry. She's recently widowed and is ill with COVID and heart problems. Please send her lots of positive thoughts. Sarah C. lit a candle of joy for doing a new artwork and for doing, I'm sorry, let me look at this again. Okay, so she's sharing joy about doing new artwork and fashion and making more friends. So thank you for sharing that. It's wonderful. And Craig P. has a candle of sorrow. He says, please send thoughts of healing for Bequan Smith, we call her B, and her baby as her water broke early and she's in the hospital. and she needs to stay there until the baby's born. So they're hoping to prolong that. As her due date's the middle of August, so she's early, and our prayers are with her. So let's hold and love all the joys and celebrations and all the hurts and sadness, both spoken and silent. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, our concerns remind us to hope, and our sorrows remind us to connect with each other. Most of all, let these moments remind us that we're not alone. Please join Bertie as she shares a message with us.
And once again, I read, as was read decades ago by a former minister, an excerpt from Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. Love the earth and sun and the animals, despise riches, give alms to everyone that asks. Stand up for the stupid and the crazy, devote your income and labor to others, hate tyrants, argue not concerning God. Have patience and indulgence toward the people. Take off your hat to nothing known or unknown, or to anyone or any number of people. Go freely with powerful, uneducated persons, and with the young, and with the mothers of families. Re-examine all you have been told in school or church or in any book, and dismiss whatever insults your own great soul. Your very flesh shall be a great poem, and have the richest fluency, not only in its words, but in the silent lines of its lips and face, and between the lashes of your eyes, and in every motion and joint of your body. Blessed be. Oops. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bertie. You're an inspiration to us all. So let us join together as we extinguish the flame of our chalice and say together, we extinguish our chalice, but not the light of truth. The warmth of community or the fire of commitment, these we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you all for joining us this morning. We're a congregation made up of people who all believe differently. And yet, when we gather together, we make up one loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. If you're a guest, a visitor, or someone who hasn't yet been known to us, I invite you to become a part of this beloved community. Zoomers, we encourage you to write in the chat your name and where you're from so we can welcome you. If you're here in the room right now, you can raise your hand and someone will bring a mic over, Steve will, and you can introduce yourself. Would anyone here like to introduce themselves this morning? Okay. Let's see if anyone came on chat here. Okay, so all set. So if you'd like to know more about our church, including programming for our youth and children, please contact us at hello@OCUUC.org. We'll help you get connected. In addition, we invite you to sign up for our weekly email called The Blast at OCUUC.org. It's up there, so you can see it. We want everyone to feel a part of this beloved community. So please reach out and we will get you connected. After the benediction, we'll have a short period where everyone can wave and say hello. After that, Zoomers can stay on to Zoom and to chat with each other a little bit longer if you like. A couple of announcements. We're having a much heralded event here next Saturday, July the 15th at 7 p.m. here in our courtyard. It's the Music Under the Stars. Woo! It's a lot of fun. So you're all welcome to come. And you can pay for your tickets, but if you still, on Saturday, if you haven't done that, come anyway. You'll be welcome. Just make a donation. Show up and make a donation. So all are welcome for a beautiful event. And also, registration is open for all church family camp weekend at Camp de Benneville, which is this coming October 6 to 8. Please see Maria or Jacques for more information. She's back there. Grab her.
The responsible search for truth and meaning and the encouragement to spiritual growth are tenets that we hold so dear in this community because they champion the life, living, and experience of every person. Each of us has a story to tell, a path to lead, and a place in this community, in part because we cherish our diversity. May we always seek to find common ground. May we hold each other in kindness and grace on our journey towards truth and wholeness, and may we always do so with curiosity and with love, for our sake, for the future of this faith, and for the future of our world. Amen. Shalom, salam, namaste, blessed be. Go now in peace. May the light within you be a blessing to the world.
Please join us in singing our music for dispersing. Let us go out. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out. Bring joy to each heart. Let us go out. With indifference destroyed. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out. Bring joy to each heart. Let us go out. Destroyed. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with joy. This service is over. Let our service continue.